Finally, I want to talk about U.S. sovereignty. U.S. sovereignty is a deep passion of mine. I know it is a deep passion of the men and women here. Our current ambassador to the United Nations, Samantha Power, has written that the United States should be willing to give up, quote, a pinch of sovereignty. I will confess I am not persuaded. But that does explain the philosophy in Syria of let's go defend international norms rather than the United States of America. And earlier this year, President Obama, in fact, right after he announced his policy to arm the Syrian rebels, he gave a speech in front of the Brandenburg Gate. Actually, ironically enough, on the east side of the Brandenburg Gate, which I will confess there was a certain fitting irony in that. But his speech did not mention Syria at all, his decision to start arming the rebels and begin injecting us into that sectarian civil war. But he did say, quote, we embrace the common endeavor of humanity. We are not only citizens of America. We are citizens of the world. And with respect to the Cold War, with respect to the Brandenburg Gate, he said, quote, openness won, tolerance won, and freedom won here in Berlin. President, with all respect, that's not true. The United States of America won. And it didn't win by accident. It didn't win by failing to stand up for our principles and our values. It won because we had a president who stood and fought for the United States of America. You know, I'll tell you today, we received on loan from Steve Penley, the wonderful artist, following painting that is now in my office. This painting is actually ginormous. It's something like 7 feet by 12 feet. It is massive. And it is a painting of President Reagan standing in front of the Brandenburg Gate, uttering the most important words any leader has uttered in modern times, where he stood in front of the Brandenburg Gate and said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Now, we all know when President Reagan gave that speech, over and over again, his speechwriters, the State Department, edited that line out. No, that's too confrontational. You can't tear down the wall. You can't win. And over again, President Reagan wrote that line back in the speech. As he explained, you don't understand. That line is why I'm giving the speech. That's the sort of leadership on the world stage that we need. That's the sort of leadership precisely the opposite of what we're seeing right now. You know, I want to read you a quote that may strike you as apt. The president lives in the world of make-believe, where mistakes, even very big ones, have no consequence. Disasters are overtaking our nation without any real response from the White House. Who does not feel a growing sense of unease as our allies, facing repeated instances of an amateurish and confused administration, reluctantly conclude that America is unwilling or unable to fulfill its obligations as leader of the free world? Who does not feel rising alarm when the question in any discussion of foreign policy is no longer, should we do something, but instead, do we have the capacity to do anything? Now, those words could have been uttered this week. But they were uttered in 1980 by Ronald Reagan describing the Jimmy Carter administration. When America doesn't lead, the world is a much, much more dangerous place.